Today's guest is Khush Mark, who is the principal of the new School of Nutritional Medicine. She is a homeopath and nutritional therapist practicing functional medicine. Khush's curious questioning mind led her not only into homeopathy but nutritional medicine, so much so that following her PhD at King's College Hospital in cancer, she went on to study a MS in nutrition in the USA. Khush believes in empowering more homeopaths, nutritional medicine practitioners, as well as coaches to have successful practices, and for this reason, she is passionate about educating practitioners through her courses, which we'll mention in this episode. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, we get to hang out with the lovely Khush Mark. Welcome to the show, Khush.
Thank you, Eugenie. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
I am really excited to have you on. I've been trying for a little while to have you on the show, and we've got lots to have a chat about. But I wonder if you can please tell our audience how you first got introduced to homeopathy.
Oh, my gosh. So that was, I'd say, 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago now. And it was my older son, who's now 19. Well, actually, it's 19 years ago. And he developed eczema. He was exclusively breastfed. And then as I started to wean him onto solids, and especially I noticed after I gave him, a yogurt. So plain yogurt is organic. I'm a nutritional therapist as well. So it's very mindful about how to wean him, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, oh no, not another dairy-free, wheat-free baby, during the world. But and funnily, there was an article that I read in my local magazine for new mums. And there's an article on homeopathy. And I thought, I'll try it out, because I had done a hair test to see if there's anything going on with him. Is he missing any minerals, etc.? Nothing. Took him to the homeopath, and I spent the whole hour. She asked the most weird, what I thought were weird questions, the most weird questions. And I spent the whole hour literally talking about his birth and sobbing. And I thought, and when she finished, we finished the session, she gave me this bag, this little white bag, plastic bag with 2 white pills in, and it said Staph aureus. And I went home and I was so annoyed, thinking I've spent a whole hour talking about, sharing my feelings about the birth. And I didn't know why I was sharing my feelings about the birth, because I went for the eczema. And I left feeling really sort of a bit frustrated. But anyway, got home, started looking on the internet, searching up this remedy called Staph aureus. I found some weird stuff like wounds, cuts, violation. And I was thinking, okay. But you know what? My gut instinct was just to trust her. Thought, what else can I do? Apart from maybe go to the doctor, maybe prescribe steroid creams. Gave him the remedy that night, 1 pill. And remember, I am used to horse pills. As a nutritional therapist, we give big pills. We don't give little sugar pills. He took that evening and next morning, and that was it. And I found that really weird, because I thought, wait, Daisy, he's supposed to be taking this every single day. Anyway, just went with it. Lo and behold, the eczema cleared up. And I'm thinking, no way. So I waited for a whole week. I thought, I'm not going to give him the yogurt again, because I know it's going to come back. It's dairy induced. And then she said, you can give him the yogurt in 24 hours. That's fine. Gave him the yogurt, and I'm waiting. Nothing. No eczema, nothing. And he was down his thighs. Okay, that's where he started. So I thought, okay. So I went back for a follow-up just to find out what on earth was going on. I didn't go back for a follow-up like you do. I just went back to find out what was in that pill. And then it went back, and she said, she explained it to me. She said, it's birth trauma. She said, you had it was my first child. She said, you had such a traumatic birth. It's so fresh in your mind. And as you were weaning him off the breast and more onto solids, he was experiencing that. And I was thinking, I have no idea, but I don't care. It worked. And I have a very inquiring mind. I'm very inquisitive. I won't just put it on the, think, okay, great, move on, carry on. I wanted to know more. So that was it. And a year later, that was it. I was at a homeopathic college studying homeopathy.
That's incredible. And you've got a PhD as well. And what was that in again?
So the PhD is actually, it's mainstream. It's in science. It was in oncology, pancreatic cancer. And pancreatic cancer, the specific type that I was working with in the lab was one that you have literally 6 months to live. So, and that was quite daunting, but doing the PhD was fine. It was just, it was hard work, 7 days a week, because I was growing cell lines. Also,
Wow.
I hate to say this, but, we did experiments on animals, so they had to be looked after and fed. And the cancers were taken from patients. So I used to go to the ward when my professor was removing the cancers. I'd go and collect them, put them in liquid nitrogen, then we'd try and grow the cells from the pancreatic cancer, test drugs. So Merck Sharp and Dohme had given a whole load of drugs, which is a pharmaceutical company. And I was testing their drugs to see which drugs would work, which drugs would slow down the cancer growth. None of them. And, so it was actually a negative. The outcome was negative from my PhD thesis, but it taught me so much. I loved it. I loved the science behind it. I love analyzing. And that's why I found homeopathy quite a big jump. And I have to say, even to this day, I still love learning. I still love reading the science books. I love, you've interviewed Jan Scholten. I love the fact that suddenly this whole periodic table, which really resonates with me. And that was, after it was during my PhD. One of my family's friends gave me a book for my birthday, which was called A Time to Heal. And it was written by a lady called Beata Bishop. And I was at the end of my PhD, then I was writing up my thesis. And as I read this book, I thought, how dare this woman say that food and detoxing cured her cancer? How dare she?
That's a brave person to have given a scientist that book.
Right. And I was thinking, we're working towards looking at what's going on with cancer genes, what's involved, and how we can manipulate it therapeutically using drugs. And I was so annoyed. But anyway, it did sow a seed, because then I thought, right, again, that inquiring mind. Well, Google wasn't out in those days, but I still, we were on the internet, and I remember typing in pancreatic cancer and vitamin C. And lo and behold, out popped the name of Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez. Now, I don't know whether you've ever come across his name. And he was, and there's all these articles as well, like regular newspaper articles in New York, where he's called the Quack, working with pancreatic cancer, same type, and his patients were living way longer than 6 months. Wow. And I'm thinking, gosh, so I really went down that rabbit hole. And then I thought, gosh, this is fascinating, because not did he just talk about diet and nutrition, and there was science behind it. There's actually some science behind the nutritional madness. In those days, nutritional therapy was called quackery. Now everybody embraces it, and I think the same is going to happen with homeopathy. It's quackery, but I think one day a time will come where homeopathy will be embraced. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I want to know more. Same happened with homeopathy, and then the same. And I did the same. But the thing is, there were courses here in England, but I thought I really would like to do more than a diploma because of my background. I had the biochemistry background. And then my husband gets offered a job to set up an office in New York. And the course that I was looking at was in Bridgeport, which is 2-hour journey from New York. And I said, let's go. He's going, you want to go? Because I didn't really want to go to New York before. And he said, you really want to go? I said, yeah, let's go. All I had on my mind was this, his course, 1 weekend a month for 2 years. And then we ended up in New York. We got there on the Friday. On that Saturday was my first weekend at the college.
No.
And when I say college, it was Bridgeport University. Did the master's in clinical nutrition. Loved every second of it, because it was, again, every weekend, like with homeopathy, was a wow moment. Like, wow, what? The Krebs cycle has got vitamins and minerals. What? It was eye-opening.
Oh, we did a bit of biochem, and that Krebs cycle. Oh my gosh, that was the downfall of me. My brain does not work that way.
Eugenie, the thing is, there's so much though that actually ties in as well with the homeopathy. With the remedies. I was thinking, wouldn't it be amazing to actually have, research where we can see, right, when you give a remedy, what does happen with let's do some tests. Like you can do tests called the Oates test, which is where you can look at some of the components of the Krebs cycle through the urine. What happens before and after a remedy? What happens before and after homeopathic remedies? I mean, there's lots out there that as homeopaths we could get more into. I know we've got the Homeopathic Institute as well, the Research Institute. But that was it. I mean, that after that, it was just like a new world.
That just sounds absolutely amazing. And you've just got my brain ticket because I'm trying to think who I interviewed just recently that is literally trying to do that. And I think it's Dr. Alexandra maybe, but I'm going to have to put you in touch. Was it Dr. Alexandra? Oh, good. Yeah, we were chatting about that. And, she's got all that background as well of being able to do that. And I'm like, money should not stand in the way of us being able to do this research.
Yeah.
And actually, this is, very exciting stuff. And so fast forward then to when you studied the homeopathy.
Mm-hmm. So basically, I finished my master's in nutrition in the US. And what was really interesting was a lot of the students on the course had already got a degree in nutrition. I hadn't had any nutrition background. And people think, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? It was a deep dive. It was sink or swim. Because for me, all this terminology, all this new stuff, I mean, we were blessed with having, I heard Atkins speak, Jeffrey Bland. Jeffrey Bland is the equivalent of Hahnemann, like the godfather of functional medicine. So I've heard, was really lucky to get to actually meet those people in New York as well. And then after studying that, I started my practice in New York. Then we moved back to London because I was pregnant with my first child and I just really wanted to be back in London. And that was then I had my first child here, and that's when I got into homeopathy. And it was and by then I was already running a nutrition practice here in London and also teaching at nutrition colleges. And I just thought, you know what, I have got that inquisitive mind, that inquiring mind. I look back and I think, gosh, how egotistical to think, how dare this woman write a book and cure her cancer through food and nutrition and detoxing? Who am I to say that? Who are we to say that? We just don't know. So I'm open. My husband was laughing after I finished, qualified as a homeopath. He goes, what next? What are you going to do next? Like, that's it. That's enough, enough. And so, and I just thought, so then I trained in London and I've been practicing now since the last 16 years in integrating what I do with and homeopathy into it.
Oh, that's amazing. And, everything happens for a reason. And I think sometimes having a humbling experience like that, where you're like, how dare that person? And then coming all this way and then looking back, it really gives us empathy for where people are and why they think that the way that they do. And I just think of when I used to work at Flight Centre many years ago, and I used to say to all my clients traveling overseas, make sure you get your travel vaccines, because I just didn't know any better. And it wasn't until I had my own education on it that I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't believe I ever did that. And so just staying open-minded is like one of the best things that we can ever do. Yeah. Now, you said that your husband's asking what next, but I hear that there is a what next because there's talk about a school. Can you give us a little bit of, are you allowed to give some information on that?
When you say what next, what I meant was, what are you going to train as next? You're going to become an osteopathy or an osteopath. But so I do have a passion for teaching. I do, because I home educated my boys for 9 years. Wow. And I really saw that actually, because I thought, education is education. You go to school, you sit in a classroom, you're given all this material and you go home, then you memorize it, you do an exam, and then you get graded. Now, when I started home educating, I ran a group here as well, organized a group, and had some wonderful, amazing teachers. And I say teachers, they were nurturing, caring. They really knew how to inspire children. Now, my older one, it was, again, he's one of my biggest teachers. He was the one who got me into home education. Didn't want to go to school anymore. And he hated art. And I'm thinking, who hates art? And then as soon as we started home educating, oh my gosh, he loved art. His art was amazing. And I could just see, actually, it's already in them. It's just inspiring them. So as I was home educated, I noticed they could watch a 5-minute YouTube video and get more out of a 5-minute YouTube video than a whole hour at school being told you can't do this or sit still. Or anyway, long story short, they're home educated for 9 years. Older one decided to go to a school here called the Brit School, which is more musical and sort of art creative. Younger one decided he wanted to go to school and try it out, and he's enjoyed it since. But what I learned was, you know what? Education doesn't have to be this Krebs cycle where you think, oh my gosh, I don't get this. This is really difficult. It's really making it relevant and practical. And I realized also that with the boys, as they were learning, as they were home educated, that actually once you've inspired them, once they feel inspired, they can go and learn anything. They can switch on YouTube. Thank God for YouTube. Okay, you've got some misinformation, but why not do that? So I've been teaching already. And I love teaching. And I also would love to see practitioners in nutrition. And so this school is more about raising 21st century practitioners, which are nutritional therapists that have homeopathy as a tool. And the homeopathy that they'll be using as a tool is for acute prescribing, which I call rapid relief. And I've seen that work magic with like COVID. I've had clients who are in hospital and have come out, because they got remedies into hospital. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. But what would I do as a nutritional therapist if there's an acute? Mm-hmm. And so I thought, why not combine that, but with coaching? Now, the coaching side is really, and I listened to I love that podcast. And, as just listening to that, and I thought, what, I do like the aspect of coaching, where's the inner work, where you look at inside, what's going on inside for me? Who am I? Who am I? What do I want out of life? What's life about? And I love that side of it, is actually integrating all that together and then actually having practitioners who come out and practice, not just get a qualification and then not practice, because God knows we need them. We need more practitioners in natural medicine than we do in traditional medicine now, because you can see it, more and more people since COVID has happened, more and more people have become more open as well, especially to homeopathy. I'm in a world more so where I see a lot of functional medicine practitioners at a conference a couple of weeks ago. And, they find out that, oh, you practice homeopathy too. And so you get the eyeball roll, or the conversation suddenly changes. And I think, no, I'm not stopping there. I'll take out my card and I give them my business card and it says homeopath with Khush Mark PhD. And you know what? Whatever the PhD does, it says something to them. That obviously I've got, whether I'm questioning, inquiring, there's something there. And then, the conversations I do get to have and talk about homeopathy. And then I mention India and the stuff that's been going on. People are becoming more and more open-minded. Mm-hmm. And so the school is really kind of just an extension of what I love doing. Just go with it. If it works, great. Just go with it and see what comes. And that's what, listening to that podcast that you did, and you said the same thing, thinking, is it ego? Why am I doing this? Is it fame? Is it, what? Could shut it down tomorrow. Yeah. Just, you try it. But I think it's just really getting it out there, all of us, whatever role we play in this kind of, microcosm, macrocosm, just go with it. And then maybe that, grows, and practitioners, that is the passion though, is to actually raise practitioners that go out, that finish and then practice. They have the confidence, they want to, and they're inspired.
Absolutely. And, I always feel, for me, I know that I'm doing what I should be doing when things are flowing and things are easy. And, like you can just see, like with you, for example, just how you have been set up to be where you are, and all this incredible knowledge and experience that you've gained. And now you're able to do this thing, your passion that ignites you, that gets you really excited, and transferring that onto others. But you have really hit the nail on the head with actually getting practitioners who are getting students and coaching them and empowering them to be able to go out and be practitioners at the end of their consult. Because out of my cohort of, I don't know, we were probably about 15, I think I'm the only one practicing. I'm certainly the only one with a full-time practice. And that is very, very sad, because why do you go and spend all those years training and then not end up doing it? And I don't know, I think maybe we need some psychologists to come and analyze us homeopaths. What is it about our minds? Do we have issues with self-worth, or is it that homeopathy is just overwhelming? But what is it about so many homeopaths that then don't go out and practice? And we're just doing such a huge disservice to our communities and to the world by not utilizing this education that we've been given. Do you have any ideas of why that is, that so many homeopaths do that?
It's really interesting, because sometimes we laugh about this, or my husband will say, well, not everybody goes and does a course because they want to go and use it at the end. It's just they want to do it because it's fun and they're enjoying it, which is great, absolutely great. But I think now we're in a day and age where we need, I feel, more practitioners who are practicing homeopathy or practicing nutritional medicine, whatever, coaching. I just think, and you can see here actually in the UK now, the NHS are looking to take on health coaches. Now, that's a big change, because they're realizing people need lifestyle changes. They need to know how to sleep, how to switch off their mobile phones an hour before they're going to sleep. So, and I think with homeopathy, it's just a matter of self-belief. You know, because homeopathy, to be honest, it's not just nutritional medicine is overwhelming. But, you know, when we get the basics, just run with the basics. We don't have to know everything. I mean, how on earth, how many remedies are there now?
I know.
I don't
they
really
reckon
know. We're not going to know all those remedies. Yeah, and part of it is really wonderful and beautiful because it's really kind of like that self-development. You know, you listen to Jan Scholten, Rajan Sankran, you listen to some of the homeopaths and you think, you know, you just feel it's more than the cerebral, not it's very much internal. And I think that's where I do see an overlap with coaching, where there's a lot of that inner work, and and as you start becoming more confident, you're thinking, actually, so we all have this imposter syndrome. Who am I? You know, who am I to go and teach this and say this? But I just think we all have that experience, and maybe it is. You know, with homeopathy, I think there's a lot of stuff that does come up for us, you know, during the course. And then what does that mean? Do we go and spend time and analyze that and say, you know, what, and why am I doing this course? You know, I remember when I joined the homeopathic college, I joined because of my son, not, you know, because he suddenly triggered something, me thinking, oh my gosh, there's more to this than just the physical body. You know, it was just, and then it just moved forward so quickly. And I think maybe also it's the language that we use, because I do find personally myself, you know, we talk about miasms. It's like, oh my gosh, because I remember my friend who introduced me to homeopathy. Once I had that experience, she said, well, Khush, you know, and she'd talk about miasms or she'd talk about being grounded. And like, oh my, you know, it's a different language. And even in homeopathic college, I remember learning the cell salts. We were taught them in half a day, one after the other. And I'm sitting there thinking, but oh my gosh, can we just stop a minute? That you're talking about ferrum phos, anemia, you're talking about oxygen, hemoglobin, and it was done in half a day. And how does that happen? It's just like, you know, I think so we're very different. People come from different walks of life. And I think different, and the beauty is we have so many different types of homeopathic colleges. And I always say that to clients who ask me, where should I study? Where would you recommend? I thought, I don't recommend anywhere. Go to every single one, sit in and see which one resonates with you, because I'm sure the one that resonates with me would not resonate with half of my clients. But I do believe it's self-belief. It boils down to self-belief. And also homeopathic colleges training practitioners on how to go and be a practitioner, not just, okay, wonderful homeopathy. You learn all sorts and it's mind-blowing, but then what do you do with it all? How do you set a practice up? How do you know, and also supervision, you know, groups, doing group work. I'm part of a forum that the Joshies it's the group here in London that teach the Joshies way of prescribing. And it's been fantastic to be, I mean, I've missed it for the past couple of months and I really feel it, you know, so I think ongoing, you know,
ongoing professional development is huge.
And just learning within that small cohort group where you feel inspired and you can share and you think, oh my gosh, I've got a case and I'm just going around in circles and I feel overwhelmed, I've given this, that and the other, and it's just like it's another perspective and it just keeps you inspired and learning as well.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say, when you said about the imposter syndrome, I just felt compelled to say, you know, people are listening to this and I'm getting so many emails and text messages and everything these days saying, oh, you know, you're so amazing. How do you do the podcast? Blah, blah. Anyone out there, I still have imposter syndrome with every single episode that I do. And I still have that 10 years later. But for any of you listening to this podcast that maybe you're a homeopath already and you haven't practiced for a while and you're considering getting back into it, because that's certainly something COVID has triggered a lot of homeopaths who you know, decided not to practice anymore because, you know, losing self-confidence or whatever. It's kind of coaxed a lot of them back in because a lot of them lost their jobs due to the mandates. So they might be a homeopath, but then they're working in a pharmacy or they're working in marketing or whatever. And I've noticed a lot of them are saying they're thinking of coming back. So if you're thinking of coming back,
fantastic.
And or if you're just a mum with a small business, and I always, whenever mums say I have a small business, I say don't say small, just say you have a business. If you haven't got that self-belief, if it makes you feel better, I literally have imposter syndrome every single day. The thing that keeps me pushing through is there is a person out there who might need to hear what I have to say right now. And if I don't say it, I'm not going to help that person. So that is the thing that helps me to push through. And I hope somebody hears this and that's of benefit to them. But yeah, imposter syndrome is very real.
Definitely.
So,
No,
Kush,
thanks
when
for
you,
sharing that, because that is important.
yeah.
Mm.
So when you have a client come and see you,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
sort of approach do you take? Because you have this, obviously the nutrition, and you've got some other therapies and things that you do as well, and the homeopathy.
Mhm.
So what does a typical case take look like for you?
So, do you know, it's interesting because normally people book online. So they choose what they want. They book either homeopathic session or nutrition session. Now, sometimes that session might turn out actually to be a homeopathic session, but I will always ask, are you okay if I take a homeopathic session? Because to me, it seems it would be more relevant. And some people say no, straight out. They're not going, fine. If somebody said yes, so then I'll do homeopathy. It's very hard to integrate the both at the same time, especially when you're going to want to work out a constitutional remedy. If the constitutional remedy is very clear, sepia, carcinosis, those ones that we all sort of happy with prescribing, then I would go on to then talk a bit more about the nutrition if it needs that they'd benefit from it. It very much depends on the person. I do find it quite tricky to integrate, but I have to say that things like cell salts I will use whether somebody comes for nutrition, and see nutrition clients who aren't open to homeopathy will happily take cell salts because they understand minerals. It resonates with them. Whereas otherwise, it's usually a homeopathic session, like a full-on proper homeopathic session. And if they want to book in for a nutrition session, they do. Otherwise, I usually just refer them. I've got an ebook on my website, and I say, you can download that and purchase it, download it, and read through that. And some people will say, I get messages saying, wow, I downloaded the ebook and my blood sugars have improved. I had a blood test done. It really is, some of it isn't rocket science. It's not difficult. Same with homeopathy. We always think, gosh, I've got to know this. I've got to know this before I can practice, or I've got to know this much. Then we'd never practice. So
absolutely.
It's just really, and I have to say, it's the client that generally, they decide what, they book in online. So whether they booked a nutrition session, and again, it varies. I go through seasons. I might go through a whole week of it's just homeopathy, and then a whole week and it's just nutrition, hair tissue mineral analysis or Dutch tests. So it just varies. But there are at times where I just think, wow, you'd really benefit from actually a homeopathic session. So
do you find the universe sends you people in batches? I mean, I only do homeopathy, but I sometimes feel like if it wants me to learn something about a particular condition or a particular remedy, it feels like they get sent in batches.
Absolutely. I know, especially now, there's a real wave at the moment, and this seems to be a very big batch of autoimmune conditions.
Oh, funny that. I can't imagine why.
Yeah. And that was thinking, and even the complexity of understanding the immune system, and how does, on a physiological level, what is autoimmunity? What does it represent? What does it mean? And then what does it mean homeopathically? And also, loving again all the sessions you've done. One, I think, was it with on the lanthanides?
The lanthanides, Jan Shelton.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, fascinating. You see how that connects, how the lanthanides actually connect with the conflict of the immune system. The immune system is trying, it's not attacking. We say autoimmune conditions, they're not like Hashimoto's. It's not a condition of the thyroid. It's actually the immune system that's gone haywire and that is now, in inverted commas, attacking the thyroid. It could easily go and attack the pancreas, if we don't address the root cause. So it's understanding. I thought, oh gosh, that is so much about the lanthanides do really, to me, from that sort of physiological perspective, tie in very much with what is going on the inside, what is going on with the immune system. It's kind of wants control, it's out of control, it's doing its job because it's recognized something that's foreign, but is it really foreign? Fascinating. But it is really, I've seen, that batch is still ongoing.
I think that batch is going to be ongoing for many years, personally. I'm seeing all sorts of very, very weird things in the clinic, and it's only going to get weirder.
Type 1 diabetes in 12-year-olds suddenly appearing. I don't know. And maybe I was thinking maybe it's just my practice. I don't know. Sometimes I do find that if I write a blog on something, it can attract. So suddenly that blog might bring in a whole lot of people that have got Hashimoto's or something. So that can happen, but that's not recently. It's just like, oh my gosh, I need to go deep dive into autoimmune conditions and understand them a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of which, I just want to say your Facebook page is kick-ass, and you share some incredible information in there. It's so good. I've followed you for ages, and the quality of the information that you put out is really, really good. So, yeah, thank you. Please continue doing that. I know there's so much time that goes into scheduling and writing all these posts and things, but they're very helpful. And actually just this week, one of the mums, I've got a Facebook group for my mums, and one of them shared some of the things, something that you shared, they shared in my group. And I was like, I'm interviewing her on Friday. Everyone's like, oh my gosh.
It's great because, like, it's funny because some people say, gosh, how long does that take you? Thinking, sometimes I'm walking the dog and it just it just comes.
Downloads.
And that's, again, it's that whole flow and ease. Other times, like say if I want to do, and when I share a remedy or guess the remedy, it was really more, what have I experienced recently in practice, or walking down the road, something might come to my mind. But generally, I think it's because also it's the misinformation with the internet now and everything. There are some websites, there's misinformation about certain conditions. Same thing with homeopathy. We in what we call functional medicine or nutritional medicine, we call it bio-individuality, which makes me laugh because really we are all individuals, biologically unique, and homeopathy knows that. They're called constitutions. But yet we have all these fancy terms in traditional medicine. Why don't we use them as homeopaths? Why don't we use the language that people understand in the 21st century? It's like my boys, when I sit, sometimes we sit around the dinner table and we have a chat. And my younger one the other day just said, he goes, Mum, when you explain that the way you do it, I get it. But when my biology teacher says it, I don't get it. And I thought, because it's not practical. At school, you're learning for the exam. And I also think it's the same with homeopathy. If we use homeopathic language for the 21st century, I think we'll get a lot more people thinking, oh, I get that. Oh, actually, I might go and see a homeopath.
Well, that is so funny you say that, because Miranda Castro and I were talking about that just this morning when I interviewed her for that. And I said to her, my husband has been harping on for ages. He says homeopathy needs a rebrand and we need to call it nanomedicine or something like that. And I said to him, nanopathy? And he's like, no, nanomedicine. And so, yeah, it's really funny. But I completely agree with you and I think that was part of the thing with homeopathy for so long. And, if you read homeopathic textbooks, even up until pretty recently, the language in there is so unuser friendly and just not words that anybody would really use. So, yeah, we really need, this feels like deja vu, second time I'm having this conversation today, but yeah, we need a revamp of the language that we use in homeopathy to make it more accessible and more non-alien and just user-friendly.
Yeah. And imagine, you've got people all over the world training in homeopathy. In India, you've got Indians training, and they're using these books. I remember when I first opened the repertory, I thought, oh my gosh, this is not even English. And I totally agree with you there, Eugenie, because I think, and it puts you off. And I remember at my college, at homeopathic college, I remember Ellen Kramer, who was she's one of the owners of one of the colleges here in London of homeopathy. She said to me, you just open the book and you just stroke it and you say, I like you. I like you. I was like, oh my gosh, But I tell you, it took time. It took time to get actually where I wanted to open the repertory and try and understand it. It is. I absolutely agree. Even, right now I'm trying to do a whole series on the cell salts on my Facebook page. And I was thinking, we know about the minerals. Everybody keeps talking about the 12. Well, there's 12. There's only 12. Yes, when Schussler was around, that's what he knew. He used the ashes of he didn't know about selenium or zinc. We know now, look at selenium and zinc. They're so important for the immune system. And everybody's, in functional medicine, we've been using zinc as a supplement in measured amounts to support the immune system. Why aren't we using it?
I'm using it in 6C in my practice all the time. Yeah, especially with young boys, really hyperactive young boys. I'll give them zinc 6C drops and I'll tell the mums to give it morning and night, and just calms a lot of that ADHD restlessness right down.
Yeah.
But I to be fair, I've got a little bit of naturopathic background as well. So I like to use like a lot of the herbs, so a dandelion and milk thistle and all that in really low potencies. And I make my own little mixtures and, liver support and all that sort of thing. So
beautiful. Yeah. And it just, see how it all ties in, just understanding even, you're looking at, okay, so we're now talking about a particular herb. So in sort of nutrition school, we will learn about where it works, how it works, whereas I think in homeopathy, it's more the picture. We look at the symptom picture, we look at the, like treats like, which is fascinating because then you go on and it's another level. But why not just combine the two? So it actually does sort of resonate with 21st century language that we use every day.
Well, I just have to say that's where Dr. Robin Murphy really revolutionized our repertory with using the language and the words that we use today, which is absolutely amazing. And I always forget, but is it dropsy? That's the old word for edema. I think it was dropsy or something weird like that. Or they talk about scrofulous constitutions, or what's the thing for glands? And it's like we just do not talk like that anymore. Yeah. And sometimes when I'm repertorizing, I can have a real brain block on what is that word that I have to search for again. But that's where I'm so glad I've got Murphy's repertory as well. And I can just go, you can actually just search ADHD and there's remedies that come up. You can search autism and there's remedies that come up. So, I mean, lots of homeopaths have their own issues with that in itself, but sometimes it's really handy if you're just stuck on, oh my gosh, just give me some ideas on what I can work with. And
there's a dictionary as well, which makes me laugh.
Yeah, I have two. I've got both of them. So there's the one that has the old words and converts it to new words, and there's a dictionary that's got the new words and converts it to old words. So that's right. It's really handy.
So if we need a dictionary, it just shows, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Khush, can you quickly tell us what is your nutrition school? What is your school called?
So the website is, now you're asking me, my gosh, I'm
that's right.
The website is New School of Nutrition.
New School of Nutrition. Excellent. And when is your course starting?
So the course starts in September.
Are you still taking new enrollments?
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, we just opened for enrollments about, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Time is just whizzing by. I don't even know if it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but yeah. So,
if your content that you go by and your lovely way of speaking and engagement is anything to go by, I'm sure it's going to be an awesome course. And also khushmark.com is the other place people can get hold of you, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. And you're on Facebook and I don't know if I've seen you on Instagram. Are you on Instagram?
I was on Instagram and then I posted some naughty scientific articles and it got taken down. So then I've started it up again, but I'm not sure Instagram is for me because I have too many words. I was holding off going onto Instagram until, because I'm like generation, I think I'm X, so I'm 79 baby. So I'm just not quite the Instagram age. And so I have. Are you saying you're not on TikTok right now? Oh, hell no. There's no way I'm going there. Yeah. So I only just very recently got on Instagram. So I think I've got 400 followers there. Yay. But we do post something on there every day. But your Facebook page is really awesome and you share such great information on there. Appreciate it. Yeah, I just think, and I do think that just makes me laugh. There you just said, with education, we've gone from Facebook where you can post as many words as you like, and then Instagram where it's very short, sharp, and it's hashtag, whatever, like Twitter's very short. And then you've got TikTok. People now just want it in a 1 minute video. That's it. Don't give me a page to read. Give me a 1 minute video to watch and I'm done. I said to my husband the other day, we're not the cool kids anymore. It's like, because we say to ourselves, oh, look, these kids do this, that. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are those people now. Anyway. True. Yeah. Khush, it was super fun chatting with you. Is there any last message that you want to leave our listeners with about homeopathy or just anything else that you want to share? Yeah. You know what? I really do believe, what's that? I can't even quote the guy's name. The one who did Star Wars, he actually wrote Star Wars, which he basically said, follow your bliss. Really, I think you follow that. And I think for a lot of people like homeopathy, it's a labor of love. We're not doing it because we make bucket loads of money, going to live that dream. But, some people can, but I'm just saying that it is a labor of love. And it's most of us are doing it because we are following our bliss, following something that we're passionate about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. It was
heaps of fun.
Thank you,
And I'll chat with
Eugenie.
you very soon.
I love it. Just keep going. I love your podcast.
Thanks so much. See you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
The Homeopathy Hangout podcast is produced by Eugenie Kruger Homeopathy. For more information, visit eugeniekruger.com. The information presented in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not replace advice from your medical practitioner. Please read our full disclaimer in the show notes. Thank you for listening.